In this video, I will show you how to put together this Frightful flower, which is an SVG file from Simply Crafty SVGs. And it also doubles as a gift box. So there's quite a bit of things with this file. So this is some of the panels we'll be using are using these. These are for the urn. So I'm just going to go ahead. As I talk about each one, I'm going to put them aside because we're not going to use them right this moment. And then here we have, it's easier to put them in little piles for the steps. So here are the little 3 flower pieces. And then these 2 pieces and then the mouth. Okay, and also I have the little mouth pieces in here under the leaves. And then the smaller panels. So we're going to go ahead and put those up there. I'll put those aside. So I do recommend you put them in little piles or anything, you know, just to help you. So here's the greenery. So there's actually 4 different types of greenery in there. 2 of them are very similar. So there's a shorter version of this and longer version of it. So I would say I gave you one of each type in there so you can cut out what you want, but you can see that I did some inking to make it go from that color to this color. So we'll show you a demonstration on how I did that. So let's go ahead, and the same thing here. The actual color is this. So I kept one, so this is pine, but it turned into this. So I'll show you how to shape them and show you a little video on how I did that. So it got the coloring. So it's just, I was just trying to make it a little spookier for the flower. So let me go ahead and I'll put all those flowers, because that doesn't really come until the very end when we put everything together. And this one I may not use. So again, I put one of each style. So there's those little ones I showed you, and then these big ones. So it's up to you which ones you want to use, or none of them. You could use your own leaves. Did I say flowers? Leaves. So, and I apologize. My voice is coming back after at least a week long cold. These are the stem pieces. So that's where the flower will attach to. And then also this is what will attach to the urn. And then these are all the pieces for the urn. So we have the top part, which will be these pieces, and then one of these. And there's 2 that size, by the way. So one will be for the bottom, which is this. So they're the same size, but one goes for the bottom piece and one's for the top piece. So I talk about there's a bottom, middle, and a top piece. This is top. This is the bottom. This is the middle. So there's 3 of these. Octagon for this one little middle piece. And this is the lid. So that's the lid of it. So we're going to start with explaining how we inked the leaves and embossed the flowers. First, I'll show you a video of how I ink these. So I prepped these in advance, so I made a different video at a different time for these because of the nature of how I did it. And basically what I used was distress oxides, primarily. Different colors, and I'll show you that. And then these little brushes, which there's a link in the product description to ink them. So you want to be careful with these, because the smaller they are when you use a big brush. You could use a smaller, you could use something like a distress tool like this from Ranger. So I have used that too. In this video I use that. So I'll explain it in this video coming up. To ink the leaves, I used both Distressed Oxide Black Soot and Distressed Oxide Candied Apple. And I kind of went over with my little blending brushes a couple times. And you can see that's the final one we're going to do after we're done. So here's the second one. And so I just went over with Candied Apple first, and then I just wanted a dark feel. And then I went over with the Black Soot, and then I touched it up a little bit. So after I'm finished inking it, to get those little droplets, to get it kind of a distressed feeling, I used what they called it distress spray, which is from Ranger, and sprayed on water. And it reacts with the oxide ink. So that's what that ink kind of does. It reacts with water. So it just gave it that different look. So similarly with the larger leaves, instead of using candied apple, I used Wicked Violet. And it's the same reaction. I did Wicked Violet and then a little bit of black soot. And then I added it. I just wanted to do it until it was to my taste. So then I also did the back of it a little bit because the back shows a little bit. So you can do that on the little leaves as well. And then I just used the Distress Sprayer to spray some water to get that reaction with the Distress Oxide. So for these leaves, you could use something like this, but I actually have this McGill little set for flowers. So the reason I got it is because I like the tools and the different options on them. But there's lots of tools like this that you can get available online. I have a cheap set of something with the balls for sculpting that I got. But I got this set, and this is good because when I do some embossing in here, it's like a nice foam pad. And it really gets the indentations. So this is, if you're interested in this, the upcoming video will show you how I inked this, and also then how I colored this and what inks I used to get this effect. And I also used, on both of them, a distress sprayer. Right there. And that's just gets so the water is splotchy. So when you activate water against distress oxide specifically, it kind of gives this splotchy look that's kind of interesting. So I used that because I thought it would go well with the with this particular design. So here's the video showing you. So after the leaves are dry, I went ahead and started shaping them. So I'm not the best doing the shaping, but I added some veining too. And so I just went along. And you could draw a line. I don't really have it scored. But I really fold it in the middle. And then set it upside down on the mat. Because that mat's kind of like a foam pad. And I wanted it to be kind of like squiggly. So I didn't want it intentional veins. So I just did it pretty hard. So you could see it on the other side. And just lightly inked it. The veins so they'd show up. So in person, on the video, it doesn't really do it as much justice as in person. So with this one, the same thing. So it's whatever works for you. But just to show you again, I flipped it upside down so the veins would go up. So it's embossing it from the back. And then curl it or do whatever you want to do to enhance the look of it based on your preference. So I can do this later or early. So I started doing it where you see I kind of curled them back because I'm going to want them to go back. But you might want them to go forward. The other thing I didn't mention is that I did ink the back a little bit. Because it's such a bright paper, I just used black soot distress oxide to ink the back. So if you can see it, then it still looks a little distressed. But I didn't go the full way on the back. So the other thing is I just used this once I embossed it the way I wanted to, and this was still wet, so you want to make sure if you use the water on it that you let it dry before you go pushing on it. So one thing I didn't do. So basically go like this. Now mine are all mostly going to go back, but you can curl them forward however you want to do. So this is a bone folder. It's good for especially the big projects like this. And I could also curl, I'll end up gluing this piece down to the bottom of the stem. So that's another way to curl it. So I'm not doing all of them for the sake of time, because this video is a little bit more extensive. But that's it. So you want it cut as many as you want per. So I did 3 of each of the big ones, and then for this one I did 2 of the shorter one and 2 of the taller one. So it's up to you. You can always cut more. And I'm only going to use probably 2 of these kind, but I wanted to make sure you saw one that was the original color. So here are the 3 flower petal pieces. So I did ink them a little bit. I used just the petals that are going to show, and they're different sizes. So just to let you know, you could. I'm just going to go from big to small. Layer them on, but I mean you could really make it your own if you wanted to do the same size, or you liked one petal better. You could do 3 of those. That's up to you. So one thing you'll notice, it's a little bit ripped on this one, and that's because when I embossed it, you can see this is the width of my embossing machine. So this one will go through fine for the most part, but it doesn't. It kind of tears and doesn't strengthen this. So I tried to re-glue that, but that's okay. That's the only one that's kind of tearing. And a couple tore a little bit. But to do these big flowers, I kind of had to just kind of poke it in. And then I'll show you, you'll see this short demonstration in just one moment. It is a challenge, unless you have a really big embossing folder. But I wanted these the leaves embossed. My recommendation with a smaller machine is to sandwich it within the embossing folder, roll it through and roll it back, and then rotate it and repeat on the other petals. So one thing I forgot to mention was, I use this Versamark Dazzle, which is just a watermark stamp pad, but it puts just a slight sheen on it. And it's if you do some inking that takes a long time to dry, you might want to dry it with like a heat gun or something like that. But you can't really see it here, but it wasn't that dramatic. But you could also ink it different colors if you wanted to. So as far as curling, I kind of curled these back a little bit. I like to use a smooth tool like this, and you could use one of the flower tools, or you could go. You just want to be careful when it comes to these little ones, especially because it's like really small here. So you could just curl if you want to go the basics, just curl it. And I wanted to go forward. So I'll do more as I get closer to the end of it. Or you could kind of cup it around. And you could use other tools. You could actually just use a, this is a skewer, but I kind of cut the end off for another project. So that's also, if you don't have all the fancy tools, just find something round and smooth that will fit the flower that I need. So even the side of a pen works. So if you don't have a bunch of tools, don't worry about it. You can find something. You just have to think about it. So I'll just curl all those flowers, and I'll curl them again once I get everything together, because it tends to flatten out while I'm working with it anyways. So that's how I did that. So first we're going to go ahead and layer these. So I like the longest one on the back, so you want to curl them as much as you want to. And again, you could just go in and curl a little bit more. I've been stacking these, so every time, even though I pre-curled them, they flatten up a little bit, so they're not really going to stay in place until I get them there. But just be careful, like I said, if you do decide to emboss, it may compromise your edges here, which it did mine. So I did re-glue. This one's a little bit loose, but I'll just stick that towards the bottom, when I rotate it, put the face on. So this one, I'm going to use Barely Art Glue today. So you wouldn't have this problem with the petals so much if you didn't compromise the strength of the paper, which I did with the embossing folder. So I want the big one on the back. That's me. This is, you want a fairly sturdy cardstock for this. Only for the leaves. But most work. Whatever works for you. Most people are more familiar with flowers than I am. I'm not really the flower gal. So I'm just going to go ahead and rotate it, offset it. And I'm leaving just a little gap because I'm going to offset that third one over that, so I don't have a whole lot of space behind it. So we'll go ahead and add this other one. Put a little glue. I'm putting a little glue where that one is a little loose there, just to see if that's going to help. As I was playing around trying to get in the embossing machine to run it through with different techniques, I just squished a couple leaves. So I'm just going to go ahead and rotate it like that. Try to get it as centered as possible. So I am going to try to pull them a little bit further forward. Just gently pulling it towards me. And I can still manipulate it once I get it on the actual stem. So for these, I'm just going to pull these over. So I ink the edges of these a little bit. I'm going to just pull them up, since I'm using double-sided American Crafts cardstock, texture cardstock. It kind of folds well. And then I'm going to offset this. So I'm not going to glue that first piece on yet. I want to see how this offset works, get it in a position I want it to, that I think looks good. So there's two of them just to give it more coverage. So I wouldn't make sure that your offset so you're not matched up with. So this, you don't want to have the same shape. You want to kind of move it and rotate it a little bit. So wherever that shape is, so you see how it's matched up like that? Like identical. I would rotate it a little bit to get a little bit more variation. Like that. So I'm going to just go glue these two together first. And if people, lately I've been using Barely Art glue because I had some on hand. It's pretty good. I like art glitter glue still, but Barely Art's pretty good. And also it doesn't freeze, I understand. The only thing that bothers me about Barely Art is sometimes it has a little smell. For some reason, I'm very sensitive to smell, so I don't know. It might just be me. So I'm just going ahead and making sure it looks a little bit more random. And lining it up. You get it as close as you can. It's not going to be a big deal. And then we'll go ahead and center this on the flower. So far not too hard, right? I want to get a little more glue down there. The other thing, there's a couple, I mean, this is not a completely beginner project, but I think if you watch the instructions, most people should be able to get through it. But if this is your first 3D, you won't want to do this one. I mean, I would practice on others first. And because just the techniques of gluing and getting the right amount of glue on your tabs and all that fun stuff, that can be frustrating in itself, in my opinion. So starting to come together. So we have that piece. So I'm going to put that, I'm just making sure I go over that area because we want to make sure, because it's going to progressively get heavier and heavier. And this is where you can gently, so you don't tear off any of the petals. I sometimes call them leaves, so if I do call them leaves, then sorry, I apologize. So I'm just going to wipe that off. I have this little damp paper towel that I always have. So this is always like a basic everyday tool. If you're going to skin a couple tools, I also like the bone tool. I honestly didn't purchase a bone tool until this year, and it really does, especially with bigger pieces, really helps to curl it and doesn't do much damage. It's easier on the paper. So I know that's what it was, why people got them, but you know, some people are slower than others. So now we have the face piece. This is not the easiest to glue together. I'm getting the tabs on the back, but we're gonna just have to bear with me and just watch what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna fold them. I have these tabs. Oops, it doesn't fold there. And I'm just gonna use my hands here to curl it a little bit. I'm just getting the beginning. This is just to help us glue it at that point, but I want to do it before I get anything on the teeth and the lips on, because you won't be able to curl it too much. That's going to dry out if I don't cover it for a moment while I explain this. So we have the teeth pieces. We have this little driplet of blood, so I'm going to show you how this goes together. So this will go under. Make sure I have all the right pieces. So this will be under, and it'll all come together in a minute. And you can see how it'll layer. This is the bottom piece. Be like this. Like that. So you can omit the blood piece if you don't want the blood. I just thought it would be fun because it's kind of a scary flower of sorts. I did ink the teeth a little bit, and if you really want to make it scary, I guess you can do liquid blood, but I'm going to put a clear, like a Nuvo clear. I'll show you that what I'm going to use. So this dries clear, if you can see the top. I put a little dot on there. These are Nuvo crystal drops. But those, once I get this together, because it takes a long time to dry, whatever the blood is showing, I will put that on there to make it shiny. But for now, we're just going to glue the teeth on. So let's just go ahead. I showed you the bottom. I didn't show you the top, but that's okay. So the top has longer teeth than the bottom, and you want to get these two pieces that are kind of rounded first, and they will line up exactly. Excuse me. I'm just going to go ahead and do the top first. I'm going to add a little glue to each of these teeth. Try to get as close as the edge as possible. That's nice with the fine tip applicator. Like that. Then we'll take that top piece. I'm going to hold it by the teeth and just add a little bead of glue on the top edge. So what's going to be easiest is just to line up the big teeth. So my battery ran out right in the middle of me talking. Anyways, the bottom's the same. So you just want to line up the teeth. The hazards when you don't see that. So these line up, and this is the reason why I have it on here, to make it easy to line up the teeth, and also strengthens the first set. So we'll do the second set of teeth. So you could pull these and all that stuff, so you can mess around with those teeth after you get them on. And here's the second set. So the way let's do the bottom piece first. Let's go ahead. I'm just making sure that this is the. So the bottom one doesn't have an indentation. The top one has an indentation. So here's the top. Oops, I did the wrong one. Here's the top, and here's the bottom. So it's just an indentation. Again, you can omit this if you don't want this, the blood piece. I mean, it is kind of intended to be kind of a scary, nice little companion piece to the Venus flytrap, if you haven't seen the Venus flytrap. So I'm going to go ahead and actually, let's see if I put that under. I'm going to put it on here. Line it up, and then we'll put the teeth underneath. been a foggy design for me because of cold. So I've been finishing up the design the entire time that I've been sick with the cold. So I'm going to put the glue on the back of this, just toward the top. Be careful, don't go too far down. So it'll just line up on the edge, bottom edge. I'm going to pick it up so you can see. I'm going to line it up there. Like that. Then the way it goes on, so we'll just put it on, we'll just continue. I'm just going to go ahead and add glue down here. I went a little bit too high on this side, but it's okay. And this right here, there's like little indentation on both sides. This corner right here, it's going to line up with, see where that fold is right there? See, it goes flat like that. So I'm going to show you as it goes around. Like that. So there's two little flat pieces, and I'm going to lift it up so you can see it better. I didn't put glue on the back of this little blood piece because it's going to curl down a little bit. Right there. So when we do it, and I'm actually just continue to curl it just a little bit, make sure that it's flexible when we glue it. So if you can see, you can see that that's kind of flat right there. You see how it goes on? So we'll do the top, so it's good repetition. We'll add glue to the back of this because we can fully get it. And it should be easy to line up for you with this little indentation at the top. So you want to line it up to that indentation. You might want to flip it over, get it in place so it's not too high. It's not going to make a huge difference though, so as long as it hides the white. And we don't care if the teeth come down a little further. So I'm just going to put glue along the edge here. And basically the same thing. Just start at one side. Just make sure you don't go over these folds, these scores. Kind of want to start. Then I'm going to hold it in place so I can get it on the other side. And the score is on the other side for that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I made this octagon because it would be difficult to glue this shut if it were circular. So it might seem a little odd because what we're going to do is glue it shut and put it like this. But it just makes it easier to put it on. I mean, if you wanted to make you have every option. If you just wanted to take the teeth and just put them right here without this 3D kind of portion, that would work too. So if you want to make it easier for yourself, that's up to you. So now comes, it's not like super difficult. It's just a little difficult. Okay, so here's this side tab. We're going to glue this. And after we get this shut, we can, you can form the teeth if you wanted to. Actually, it might be better once we glue it on. So I'm going to line this up. So this edge lines up with the tab fold here. If it's pulling on you, just hold it with both hands. And I'm getting my fingers underneath this tab to get it secure. And once you get it in place, that's where it is right there. So the best thing with this, and just be careful of this little blood piece if you've got it going, if you're using it. We're just going to add glue, and what we're going to do is fold that down like that. because of the weird shape of it, we can go around the edges and apply pressure. So I'm just giving you the what we're going to do before we do it. But let's go ahead and add glue to all the tabs. Being careful not to pull that little blood droplet off. I like adding elements that you can change. So, like I said, you could omit this and just use the teeth for the face if you wanted to, which is absolutely okay. I just wanted to try to get a 3D element, and this is the way I felt what would be easier for a majority of the people to make this project doable for a lot of people, not just people that are more advanced at glue on my fingertips. So now we're just going to go slowly push it down. Oops. And what glue's handy, I don't mind if I get glue on the back of this a little bit, but now I'm just going to line it up. I'm going to go around and line it up. I'm just going to go first. Let's go on the other side. Last one. It's a little bit off, but not a huge thing. So what's nice about this, you can kind of get pressure behind most all of these by just kind of squishing it. It gives kind of a 3D look. And the other thing you can do is use a small tool like a wooden chopstick. So I'm just trying to get my wooden chopstick here. You can try to get in to apply pressure. You could, or another tool you could use, and I used earlier, is a thicker part of a stylus to get in there and just apply pressure to the tabs. You just need to be careful around the teeth. So that, you can mess around with the teeth or not, or just keep them as is. I think today I'm going to keep them as is. My practice piece, I played around with the teeth a lot, and the only thing I like is separating that top layer. I think that looks really good, and it's the easiest thing to do. You could use a little tool like this too, so you're not bending it too much at the tips. Little tweezers would work too. This is like one of those projects. I don't like to do a lot of projects with a lot of tools because I realize not everybody has a bunch of tools, so I do my best to offer alternatives. So now we know that this is the top. So we want to arrange the flower to figure out like what looks best to us at the top versus the bottom and all that fun stuff. So I kind of like the way it looks right here. So I'm just going to go for it and place it down. So if you wanted to, or we wanted to, we could go ahead and do a little inking of this. Just make sure this is good and dry so it's not coming apart on you. I have a little ink on here because I was using this to ink the teeth. I'm just it kind of roughs it up. Didn't want it black because I felt like it would be too dark. And I tend to go black with all Halloween. Excuse me. So I thought, why not this is called a charcoal. So like there, and it gives it a little kind of a grungy look. So whatever you like, you can do. So we're just going to go ahead and, oh man, sorry I coughed. I'm not going to go all the way to the edge because I want a little wiggle room when I like to give, especially when I have to place an item like this, give it a little room because if I move it around and then the glue might be seen. So I'm going to make that the top. And I'm going to drop it and place it where I want here. Remember that's round, so it's going to look kind of strange at first, but when it comes together, I don't think it's that bad. I had to sacrifice, like I said, the ease of putting it together. get something blunt here. So you can get your finger in there. I'll get my coffee jug out of the way so I can continue the video in just a moment. I'll do it off camera, so I apologize for coughing. So that's just kind of coming together, right? Isn't that fun? So next I'm gonna show you how to put together the stem. So here are the stem pieces that will actually support the flower head. So we have these. This is the part that will connect to the lid. And then here's the back of the flower where the flower will attach. So I did run a little ink. So the way it's going to go together, I ran ink on this because this is going to be on the back of this. Like that. Let me get in the middle of the screen. Sorry about that. This is going to be in the middle of the back of this, so you'll see shortly. And I also put just a little bit of ink down here, so if it's visible above the moss that I put in, that you'll see just kind of blends in with the leaves, because, you know, remember, we're going to have leaves that are attached to this. And it's not the same color, but you can do whatever to taste. Most people aren't going to look at the back of something. We really want the front. But, you know, I like it to look good if somebody rotate it, especially if it's a gift. So you want to fold it like that. The face was a little challenging, but it really wasn't bad. This is a little bit more challenging. So it's not horrible either, so just know that. So we want to fold all these pieces. So we're going to put this piece and this piece over here just for now. And just over there. And then you have these pieces. So there's little tabs here. So I'm going to gently fold them back because it kind of angles back. And this one is a little bit straight, but it angles back a little bit. It has to kind of angle down so it can hold it to get the strength. So this one, my suggestion is to glue it on the inside like this. So we're going to put it on the inside and then wrap these tabs under, because we're going to glue this to eventually this is going to be glued to the flower. So you won't see the tabs. So let's go ahead and we're going to connect it to one. So we're going to do this first one. And this is textured paper. So I would suggest doing the non-textured to texture. Or, actually it doesn't matter. We'll just do the textured and non-textured. I'm going to go ahead and take this top one. Just make sure it's the top one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and anchor that. So I'm just lining it up and then folding it up so we can get this edge set into the tab fold. That makes sense. So it looks like this. So just make sure it's in the right location. Then once you have it anchored, just make sure it's good and dry before you move on. You have to know how quickly your glue dries. We're going to pull that back. With these three, we're just going to glue to the back. So I'm going to use a tool like this to reach in. Again, this is just a wooden chopstick from a takeout. So it's something that you can get either friends or family that order, or if you've ordered. You can even get them at, I think I've got those at Panda, actually, in the U.S. So, I don't really use them. I do use chopsticks, but not when I go to Panda. So I'm just going to go in and we can fold those over. We're going to fold inward. And I'm just going to reach in. And starting where the middle one right here. I'm just going to go around. I'm going to push in from the side. as I add pressure all the way around. So we can see, you can also reach in. Before you do the other side, it's easier to reach in. So I can reach in easily and add more pressure to those. When it comes to these right here, it'll get harder to reach in. So that's when that tool comes in handy. So we're putting glue on these 3 tabs. I'm going to fold them inward. No, I'm getting glue on the back. It's fine because it'll go. I'm going to kind of flip it over to make sure they're still that way. Again, I'm pushing it in so I can still get my finger in there. It looks like we might be able to do it the whole way. If I fold that back, it might help. So now I'm pushing that in. And make sure you push it in before you add pressure, because we want to make sure that the edge inside is lined up. So when you push it in, you can kind of feel it. And you can see it here that there's not much gap at all. There should be no gap, but you might have a little bit. If a little bit's okay. So now we have these 3 tabs. So that's not horrible. So for this one, to make it easier, we're going to anchor this one, but we want to put this on the top. You could actually go in and try to do it from the bottom like we did before. It just is a little bit more challenging to do it that way, but you can do it that way because you saw that technique. But we're going to do this one from the top. I can't show them all, but I can alternate. So now I have the top tab, kind of folding it back so I can easily know where to line up that edge, like that. And I'm just going to anchor it to that, so it'll be easier for us to rotate it down. Like that. So now, it's always a challenge in doing it from the top, and you're going to get more opportunity with the urn. So as you progress, I use similar techniques throughout the entire design. To me, it's kind of like a 2-in-1 design, because you have this flower part and then you have the urn part. So it's an urn vase, but I kind of wanted it to be kind of spooky like an urn, but I really would say it's kind of like an urn vase. So now we're just going to go ahead, and you don't want to push them in too far. If you push those tabs in too far, you're not going to be able to get pressure. So I'm just going to go around. And my fingers are too big, so I'm kind of pulling that out to get it lined up here. And honestly, if you get close to the edge, we're going to cover this. So just make sure this is not overlapping that too much, but it doesn't matter because we're going to cover it with this piece right here. So once we get them lined up, I'm just trying to get it lined up best you can, and I didn't do the greatest job, but I'm going to show you why that doesn't matter too much. And now I can go and just add pressure inside. And you can't really feel where it is, but if you had a long finger, you probably could get into the first tabs, but the ones inside you can't. I just want it to be closed. So make sure you take the time to at least get those secure. And the reason, like I say, it can be a little bit off just like mine, is we're going to put this over it. And this is just going to flare out like that. And it just finishes it, hides any kind of imperfections. That it kind of looks like, a back of a flower, right? I mean, that's what I was trying to do. So, but we're not going to put that on yet. So biggest thing is make sure this is going to glue down here, because when we start to glue this on, then the possibility is that this could pull this off if that wasn't, the glue wasn't dry. So there's 2 ways to do this. I'm going to do it the way that I think would be helpful. So that's starting here. So this is the widest at the end, back. I'm going to add glue to this tab. Oops. Always have the damp paper towel nearby to just clean up things like excess glue on my glue bottle or my fingers. So we're going to go ahead and anchor this. You want to get this set really pretty accurately. You can line that top edge up to that score line. The sweet thing about this is if you do kind of get a little bit off going around doing this, it's going to be hidden. So it'll be at the base. It should mostly be hidden because if you do what I suggest, which is putting something like moss or you could use like a shredded paper if you didn't have moss. I mean, something to cover the bottom part, then you won't see it. So now we're going to continue wrapping it around. So I'm just going to add glue to all three. You could do one at a time if you wanted to. It just gets hard to reach in. This is truly a project. So as you angle it around, I'm kind of pulling on it a little bit, but holding this gently. And then lining this edge up to the next tab fold in right here on the side. And I'm just going to fold it over. Make sure that this edge lines up to the next tab fold. And I'm kind of pulling it with my thumb towards me like that. Because of wet glue, that's the benefit of having wet glue. And then this last tab right here. So you may want to fold that in first. If you wanted to, you could glue on the outside. That's up to you because it should be hidden, but if you wanted to go on the inside, you fold it in inside. Well, I have it unfolded right now, so we'll do it. So you can fold it gently if you... So I'm just holding that last one, so you can see it just went around. So the only thing to attach it is this one right here. That's what it looks like on the inside. So you could gently fold it in if you didn't already see it. It'll pull it away. That's why I didn't do that. That's why I say fold it before. So I'm going to just add a little bit of glue in there. I'm one that likes to teach and give you options. So I know some people are probably like, just don't give me an option. Just tell me how to glue it. Well, there's always a different way. In fact, I configure this thing until I figure it's somewhat easy for most people to assemble. And you see that I'm just gluing it on the inside and lining that edge up to the tab fold edge. But anyways, there's multiple times before I even put a project out. A lot of times, especially a weird shaped one like this, I'll cut it in different ways to see what's easier to put together. And honestly, this was the easiest of the few ways I tried, so. You just want to make sure that's good and secure. And what this will do is, I'm just going to show you, and we're not going to do it right now, but I want to show you. These are the lid pieces, which will be next on our list to do. And those will go inside there to attach. So, but we're not going to do that right now. So that's it for that. And you could add this back piece if you wanted and just glue it on the back, and then you could glue it down like that, or you could wait until the flower goes on. I think I'll show you, since you could do it like this and you can see that it just goes on like that, I'll do it when I put the flower on. So you can see if it makes a difference, because I think it's helpful to curl these little edges here. Just either inward, or I'm just using but I mean, I may have to go outward depending on how it fits. So Anyways, it's up to you. It's such a minor thing because it's barely going to be seen. So now we need to get the lid pieces. So here are the lid pieces. This is not all the lid pieces. We just want to bring out the ones that are rounded. These are the little panels that go on the edge of the lid. So there's 8 of them. So let me pull them out of here. I just embossed them for a little different look. Make sure I have them all. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I put them in here, which is a freebie from our website, and embellishment bowl that you can make to put the little things. So I have 2 different. I made some bigger too, so I could hold larger items. So we want these pieces. So here we have these 2 that are similar in size. This will go under inside, and this will be what we attach the stem to. And we have these 2 top pieces, top edges of the urn lid. So you'll see you need to find this piece that has 2 cut lines. So they're only going to be across from each other. So let me get this closer so you can see it. So the angle, you can see I used a pencil right here to mark them. You won't see them because they'll be inside, but you don't really need to see them. But it is important you use the right piece for the right thing. So we're going to use this one first. I'm going to put the other one away so I don't accidentally use it. I don't need this solid piece, and I'll use that eventually. So for now, we just need the lid edges like this and this piece. This is the inside edge of the lid. That's the outside edge. So we just need the outside edge and the piece with the 2 cuts. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that to the side. But again, the other things you want, your best bet is just to move them aside so you can not get confused you have the wrong piece. They are slightly sized differently, so it fits well. So first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and put all these panels on. These just center. I didn't make them the same size as the sides. So for the urns, the urn panels are exactly the same size as the side part, but these have a slight offset because I wanted to be able to see that other color behind it. So you just want to go ahead and do it while it's flat. We can't do that in any rounded panels, but we can definitely do it on pieces like this. So all the pieces that have these tiny little panels, we can go ahead and put it on while it's flat. So I'm going to go ahead and finish that, and then we'll go ahead and put this together, these 3 pieces together. Okay, so I misspoke a little bit, but it's not too late, so that's good. So we're going to go ahead and just glue these 2 together, and this is not with that. That's just me being a little foggy in my head. But we're going to go ahead and glue these together so it can sit and dry until we have the middle part done. So fortunately I have kind of steps for myself so I don't mess up and guide you incorrectly. So I'm just lining that up, gluing it on the inside, then just folding this over. So the one with the cuts, the top piece, that actually does not go with this particular one. So you can see that just kind of lines up, but I have a little excess glue. So let me go ahead and so we'll go ahead and just put this one aside. Still keep this one with the cut. We want these 2 pieces and this. So what we want to do is these will fold inward. So you'll see there's rounded tabs and then ones with the sharp corners. The rounded tabs, we want to go ahead and just go ahead and close my glue ball here. I'm going to take this. We're going to fold it down. So we want kind of a valley fold on that rather than a... Oops, sorry. Wrong one. It's okay. It won't make a difference on that. We want to fold them the other way. So I tend to do the mountain fold that way naturally and then gently pull them back and then I'll get a good crease on them. So this is where the bone folder kind of comes in handy. Get it, make sure it's accurately folded. Okay, that one's a little bit off. So I'm just being gentle with it first, just to get, so I know where I have to score it. And you could use a tool like this, or I think this is a good addition to any paper crafter's room. I know that I've used one for a while now. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and glue these tabs. So what we're going to do, this is going to be the inside, but we don't want to see the tab on the inside. So we have to glue it on the outside. So the easiest way to do that is whatever you deem the inside. So this is the outside, that texture part. I'm going to flip it over. And glue the tab like this. It's just so I can line it up well. And I fold it just to get it in place. You could eyeball it, but it's just easier to push it against that edge against the inside fold to get it in place. So we won't see this because there'll be that outside lip of the urn lid. So now you want to make sure this is on the... So if I go like this, upside down, I want it to just fold over on top of it. Like that. You don't want it to be on the inside because you don't want to see that tab. If you don't care and you put a lot of moss in there and you don't see it, then who cares whether it's on the inside or outside? So those that understand, understand. But I like to do a clean design, so I don't want it shown on the inside. So now we have these folded backwards. And this folded inwards. So this is the top, and that's the bottom of the lid. So we'll go ahead and we're going to glue this in. Inside there. And the reason I do that first is it makes it just easy to, it forms it for us. So you could just do a couple to start with, or you could do them all at once, but I'm just going to do a couple. Only because if you're not quick, sometimes the glue dries and I'm not on my, not 100% yet, so just going to line it up. They're all the same size, but I want to get those three lined up. So I just got those three tabs. So I'm just lining them up. And this is the easiest way to do it. And just so I know it's these three. So applying pressure against the table, you see they're all glued. So now I can flip it over and add glue to all the rest of them and fold them over. So if you do like this project, or any of our projects really, I always ask if you give us a like on our videos and or subscribe to our channel if you have not already done so. And then if you hit that little notification bell to the right of subscribe, you'll be notified when we have new videos. So always appreciate that if you have the time to do that. So now I'm just folding them in. And then we're just going to go around pushing in the edges, making sure the edges are lined up. So you just want to make sure that piece is lined up to all those little inside folds of the tabs. So take the time, make sure it's secure. And we'll go on to the next step. So now that this is glued, we're going to go ahead and flip it over. And we're going to add this in. So we want the texture side up, but it's going to be underneath the rim of the, it's actually the rim of the lid. So if you can't get it, the easiest way to get it on, honestly, it's this way. So I made it a little bigger so it should fit around it. Just gently get it in place like that. And then what I usually do with things like this is I'll do one side. So glue one side first. So I'm going to glue that tab like that. Just fold it over. I'm going to do the opposite tab so it gets it lined up nice. If you went around, sometimes it can get offset a little bit, but if you do this, it helps to keep the rest of the tabs in place. So we're not going to see this. This is going to be, the edge is going to be hanging off of this, like that right here. But this way it's giving us an easy way to put this on, and also it's hiding the tabs underneath. Because you still can see it if you pick up the lid. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll do 3 at a time. Make sure you get that good and glued on there flat. If there's a little glue on the top, don't worry about it because we're going to cover it with that other piece eventually. Well, we're actually going to attach the outside edge of the lid right there. So we'll go ahead and add these 3, and then we'll move on to the next step, which is attaching this piece to the outer edge piece. So that's another good way to do this, to apply pressure once you get them into place. So now let's go ahead and once you have everything good and secure, we're going to take this piece, going to go on the outside, like that. See how that goes? So again, we're going to do the same method. We're going to glue those two like this to each side. Just flap them down. Just don't go really. The way that it fits, it should fit fine. As long as you get 2 of them matched up. I don't care which 2 it is. Let's start with 2 tabs across from each other and get them lined up. So I'm just going to make sure this is in place. And then we'll do the other side. So if it doesn't go in place, you want to go like this. And this is where you can apply pressure. I'm going to use this. The other thing that works well, or has worked well for me, was you'll do this a couple times, the edge of this. Because this is bigger, that's all. So you want to do this going around. So we'll do that on the next one. And we'll use that technique also when we put the final piece on top to cover all these tabs. So you can see that. So I won't, the rest of them are pretty much the same. So I'll let you watch me finish those. And then I'll spare you my voice. So now that we have these all glued on, we're just going to go around and add glue to the edge here. You want to get as close to the edge as you can. This is where a fine tip applicator comes in handy. And if you were watching earlier, you can actually get your fingers in. If you go around carefully with your fingers, that might be easier for some people than using a tool. I have pretty chunky fingertips, so my hands are small, but my fingers are wide. So most people, unless it's probably, some people have larger hands than me. Or you could use a tool if you needed to. A little glue inside. Let me get that off. So we're going to take this one without the cuts. I'm just going to pop it on. So here's the thing with this. It will not line up perfectly on the inside. So you want to kind of go towards the outside. I made it a little bit bigger on the inside and outside, so to account for the gluing it together and all the bulk. So get it as centered as it looks to you. Like if you could also push these little inside edges in if for some reason it's a little bit off. But remember, we're just going to choose. So this could be the back. I could make it the back. I mean, it doesn't really matter. So now, once I have it set, I can go around with the tool or carefully put your finger in there if it fits. I realize people have bigger hands than me. To apply pressure, because I want to make sure it doesn't look like there's a huge gap or anything, so it looks clean. Because you will see the outside edge of this. So if you can see, we did a pretty good job. But you want to take some time to make sure that's right. And then this piece right here, that'll be after we put on the stem, but we're not going to do that just quite yet. So just after I put it together, I'm just kind of going around. I'm not being really careful because I want it to look grungy still, so kind of adding a little grunge. I'm using this tool is a little bit too big for my needs, but I have it out, so I'm going to use it. Just kind of getting the edge. You could put any color. Black just seems to be the thing I'm using. So just looking around, ink can do a lot for you. And you're wondering what embossing folders. Unfortunately, a lot of the embossing folders I have are retired. I just don't pay attention because I've gathered them over time, but usually can find one that's similar. But I have that information in the notes, the product description, so you can take a look. So then we're going to put that aside with the flower and the stem, and this piece as well. So now we're going to do the top of the urn. So that's 8 of these, and this bottom piece. And you can always make sure that you have the right octagon piece by just lining it up and see the size. So if you're worried about that, I didn't really feel like I needed to mark them because of that, but you only need one. The other one that's the same size goes to the bottom. So when they fold like this, I folded all the other ones already for sake of video time. And these will be the panels. So we'll put the panels on after we assemble this. So basically what you're going to do is just take a piece. And if you've done this before, of course you can forward through. For those that are new to this kind of thing, just add glue on the first tab. And then we're going to go ahead and line it up to that section. Going to line up this edge to the tab fold. If I have any excess. I'm not worried too much about the excess. We just don't want it all over your fingers. That's really what it comes to. Because we'll have panels on the outside of this. I mean, if you wanted to do it without panels, you could. The panels do strengthen it. So I would highly recommend, because this is like a little box that you can put things in. So once you get that anchored, so if you feel like I could do all of them at once too, but this is the more cautious way to do it, in my opinion, the more exact way. Because once you get that first one anchored, the rest usually go together a little bit better. And because I have it folded the way, because it's like a low polygonal, and with the folds, it makes it easier to glue together. So it's trying to find some easy things to get this project, because it is a rather long project. So now I'm just gluing the next one in. So we're going to go in order from top to bottom. And if you want to make sure that you're lined up, I can just kind of use my thumb to make sure. And I'm just going to go. You want to move it around what's going to be comfortable in your hands. If you're left-handed, make sure that you turn it around to what's comfortable for you. So this way, I'm applying pressure on the inside with my left hand, and then lining it up, making sure it's lined up with my right thumb. So so you could do it either way, flip it over, whatever's comfortable. So you have to find that sweet spot for you. So that's what usually you do with these. And I'll do one more talking here. So I'll show you where you can do them all at once. Here's the key though. You really need to know how long your glue takes to dry. Because if you're too slow, which I'm a super slow crafter, I've gotten a little bit faster over time. Anyways, if you put glue on all the tabs and then don't get to the last tab, of course that's problematic. But I've been doing it for a while, so it's a little easier for me now. And I know how long my glue takes to kind of hold. So once you get that first one in place, which is always the key for these kind of shapes, and I can kind of eyeball it, but if I need to, I'll still use my thumb to make sure that I'm lined up properly, and at the top as well. And then just continue downward. So, but this is where you need to get, I'm just getting excess glue on my fingertip, comfortable with your glue. And then we'll just get that bottom. So the key is just make sure you're moving around to get it in place the way you need. And then you can make sure it's lined up as you go down. So I'll go ahead and put the rest of this together. And then I'll come back when we're to closing it up just to show you. As we get to this last piece, first of all, make sure that you have your last piece and not close it before. I always count my panels. There should be 8 prior to closing anything up. So this is my 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So what's helpful with anything circular like that, you can just kind of let that go inside. And then we will gently guide it into place when we close it up here. Just want to make sure these last tabs are good and secure, so you can see what it looks like on the inside. So it's the top part of the urn. So I'm going to make sure these are good and folded. So you can see how that just kind of lies. It's easier than trying to put the glue on inside. So we're just going to put it on like this. A little excess glue there. Then we'll gently place it inside to get it closed. And this is, I always teach to people that are somewhat new at things like this. So you could always, of course, forward it if you've already know how to do this. So when it comes to closing it up, this is an easier one than most. I usually start, I'll start at the top and continue like I have every other panel. But depending on the curve that's there, sometimes it's easier just to get the bottom one attached too. For this one, it looks like going down, up and down. It's just giving you little tips of how you can glue while it's still outside. Don't like try to get glue while it's inside. And I'm kind of keeping it apart until I get down to that. And then reaching in from both sides to get it lined up. See, the more curved, the better that first tip is to glue that top tab and bottom tab. But this one probably would have been a little bit too difficult. So I'm going to move it around, get it in a better angle for me. Just gently nudging it so it lines up. And you really want to make sure your glue is good and secure before you move on. And then I'm going to, I could put the bottom on, but we're going to put the panels on first. So first I want to show you the panels. So we're going to put that bottom piece on after the panels so we can reach in still and apply pressure. It makes it way easier than having to reach in. You could do that, but anyways, it just makes it easier for me. But it wouldn't be a big deal if you put it on first. So these are them. I curled most of them already. This is a printed digital paper that's kind of black and gray, but I wanted a tint of purple to it because of the flower. So what I did was ink it a little bit. So I did a print to cut using, even though it used to show it on a Cricut pad, this next little section I'm going to show you how I did it. But I used a silhouette to do print and cut. So let me show you that really quick and then we'll come back and assemble. So all I did was print it and make sure that you don't get the ink near the registration marks, whether you're using a silhouette like I was using or a Cricut or another machine. You can go ahead and ink it and it still will cut it appropriately if the registration marks for the machines are there. So here it's silhouette on a Cricut. I'm using a Cricut mat. And you can see it just comes out cleanly. And I have a different look that I wanted. So now that you know how I did that by using some Distress Oxide and print and cut, I'm just going to go ahead and just do one swipe of it. This is like a thinner cardstock. So you'll see I'm just doing that to help shape it to get it on there. So it doesn't really have to be that curved, but just a little bit of a curve on it. It's going to help us put it on in one fell swoop. Let me get some of my glue off my fingertips because I don't want glue on the outside. So you can just glue the top and bottom. I'm going to add a little glue on the top and bottom, but I like to add just a little bit on the sides. But it's not going to probably touch all the way down. So you want to start at the top. So let me move these over. I'm just going to start at the top. And it fits that whole section. So we're going to do it on the section. Line it up with the section. And then I'm going to pull it down. And you can adjust it as you pull it down. So we get a rounded look. So it's a little, it looks like it's a little bit over my, it doesn't matter if it goes into there because we're going to glue the when we put it together, there's going to be the middle part that goes like that, so you're not going to see that edge. Nor these tabs, that's why this is going to go on the inside. So we just need to continue gluing these on the edge. I don't know why I put little dots of glue on the edge. But you can line it up here. And then also just make sure it's lined up there. So because you could just line it up to that fold. And you don't have to glue. Let's see how it pops out. We'll just do the rest like that. So it gives it a rounded look, even though it's not actually rounded. So just the top and bottom. So there we go. And so I'll just continue to put these on. And you can watch me put them on, and then we'll go on to put that inside piece in. And then we'll be done with the top piece of the urn. Then once I was done with this, I'm just going to go ahead and add this middle piece on the inside. So I added glue to those tabs on the inside, and then we'll get it set in place. I have to kind of angle it towards myself so I can see it. So we don't care about the tabs being on the bottom because they'll be hidden when we glue it together with all the three pieces. So that'll finish that piece off. So you can see, it looks like that. So I already centered these. So these are just centered in each of the areas. And so if you fold them, you can see there's a little edge around there. So you just want to place those before we put that middle piece together. And the other thing you could do really quick is to center these as well on the bottom edge, unless you don't want them. So if you just want it without the panel, you could just leave it without anything either. So if you can see that, because that other panel will go here when we put that together. So I already put these on. I'm just going to put the middle piece together. So once you have the panels on, just fold this edge over. Just fold it over. And you might make sure you pre-fold that tab, all the tabs. And we're just going to go ahead and lay it flat. And then we can fold it over like that. And it should line up right exactly where it needs to be. So you might just have to line it up and down. So there's three little octagon pieces. I'm just holding that until it dries. So there's three little octagon pieces. So there's a reason why I did all three. So like typically a lot of people will show just doing it on the top, and I'll do that for the last one, but I like to put one inside if I can. And the reason is it kind of helps shape it. It makes it easier to do the final ones. So we're going to go ahead and, so one side we'll put it on the outside. Actually both sides, but one side will have this little structure inside to help you glue it together. It just gives it the shape, really. And it's not that much extra paper, so why not do it? It gives it a little bit more support too. Because we have we're going to have a weight of that top urn piece and the flower on this middle piece. So we're just going to line it up. I have to do that. Just going to angle it in. Just make sure that you get the edges lined up. And you can just go around, push in the edges, to make sure it's lined up. Just like that. Just make sure it glues well. And then the other side, see it's all glued. We'll just pop it down a little bit. And it does help to anchor one tab. So we'll anchor this front tab right here. Glue to that. Line it up. So this edge, I'm trying to line it up, not over the score line there for the tab. And I actually glued the, I didn't need to do that, but I'll make this the top or bottom piece. It doesn't really matter. Well, it kind of does because it's flat. I meant to make this. I'm going to make this the bottom piece because I meant to keep the texture out. But we're not going to start over. Because it can be the top or bottom, but because it's visible, you want to make sure that you have no tabs showing on this piece. Because this juts out in between the bottom and the top of the urn. So make sure you just get good coverage. Again, having a little glue like this. The Barely Art glue, when you buy the glue, usually comes with a couple tips, and this is one of them. So you don't have to buy a separate bottle, but which I do with art glitter glue. I have a separate bottle for it. There's also a tip that comes with art glitter glue, but it's not my favorite. So we're just going to fold it over. And as you fold it over, we're just going to go around the edges, make sure it's lined up. Again, normally it would have the textured side, but that's why you don't want the tabs pushed all the way in, because you need to make sure that you can rub them, because we can't get inside anymore. So the nice part about putting that insert is the other side is just going to be easy to glue on. This side is not as easy. So actually I did the correct side. If I were going to mess up, this is the side because it's going to be the bottom. And then I'm going to make this the top. Like that. And then we'll just cover the tabs with this panel, but I just want to make sure that's good and glued on. So now we have this top panel to hide those tabs. So it'll go like this. So right now you can see the lid. I'm just going to show you what the lid looks like. Just going to flip it over and it'll go like this. So we'll have to center that. But we're just going to put together that bottom piece, and then we'll put them all together. Okay, so this is the bottom part of the urn, and we already put the little panels on, just centered them again. So you want to make sure this is good and folded, all the tabs, and we're going to go ahead and put this together. We'll go ahead, and this will be an inside support piece. Because what happens is when we stack them together, it creates pressure on the bottom and too much pressure, so this will help support it. So we'll do that just after we do this part. So we're just going to add glue to these tabs on the side. So similar to the top. The difference is it's attached on the bottom here. So we can just start from the bottom because it's lined up. And it will fold like this, so we should pre-fold it like that. So I'm going to line that first tab up like that. I'll fold that out. Oops. Just fold it back. So you just want to scooch it down until it lines up. So we'll do one more. So it's the same concept. You want to go ahead and line this bottom edge up. With a tab right here. And get that in place. And kind of pull this forward. So it's a bit of a valley fold for this top part right here. So you want to make sure that's fold backwards and just slightly fold upward before to make sure that it's easier to put together. Then when we get to the end of this, we'll just attach this right here and then continue up and around. So you can go ahead and watch this and give my voice a rest for a moment. So as I close this up, I glue this first and then make sure it's good and dry, and then you can do those last two tabs. So it's easy to reach in. I know I got a little glue there, but I do have panels. If you weren't going to have panels, I wouldn't do that, but the panels do strengthen it. So we'll get this. Since I have panels, I'm not going to worry too much about the glue showing right there. Just get it glued so I can show you the rest of it. So next we're going to just add the panels. That's what it looks like on the inside. So before we add any of the inside or top or bottom panels, we're going to do the side panels. I have a little bit of dry glue there. So I'm just going to get those. So since it's digital paper, it's white on the back. I didn't really ink these as well as I probably could have on the edges, so you can see the white a little bit. But I'm going to curl them just a little bit towards me, and I can do it as I put them on. So let me just do a couple to start. I'm just going to go around here. So similar to what we did with the top panels, these bottom panels, instead of starting at the top, let's start at the bottom because we want to go towards this middle piece here. So we're just going to go like this. Line it up here in that section. Then I can reach in and apply pressure. I'm kind of scooching it down. This is why we're curling them. And it gives it more of a smooth look. Unlike my smooth voice. Let's do another one. And I kind of put glue on all of it. But you could do it probably on the top and bottom like we did the top one. It's just habit for me. So line it up on the bottom edge. I overlapped a little bit on that one, so it's okay. Trying to keep this, push that down so that edge is as lined up to that top edge as possible. Let me just... There's always one or two things on a project that are just going to be annoying to you. I'm going to try to put the glue on this. That might be easier. Then I don't have to worry about getting too much glue on my fingertips. Okay, let's try this one right here. So it usually takes me a couple panels to get into my rhythm. And then I'm probably going to go ink around and get a little bit more black around there so I can hide that white. The top I'm not worried because it'll be under that middle piece. And the reason it doesn't fit just exact and might go over this little fold a little bit is just because we have a score here and we're making it more of a curl. So I'll go ahead and continue putting these on. We'll finish it and then I'll show you how to put the top and bottom panels on. So now we have all the panels on. I can always go over, and this has a little bit of black ink on it, and just get some of that white toned down on the edges. So that's something I could do at the end as well easily, but just I like to do it as I go so you can see. So before we put on the tops and bottom, we need to put this together. So this is a support box. The holes are the top and bottom. So we know how to place it in the bottom of this. So basically it's just a basic box. All it's for is for support. So it doesn't compress when we go to close it. Oops, I didn't mean to do that, but that's okay. So we're just going to fold it over like this. But simply those cuts, the circle cuts, are only to tell you that it's the top and bottom. So you orient it properly within the bottom piece. When I made the test versions, putting pressure down because I had to glue put together the top, middle, and bottom. So when I did that, it was just too flimsy. I mean, I am using 80, that's what I recommend for this. I'm using American Crafts 80-pound texture cardstock, which I always have for the most part, most of my projects, except for maybe really older ones. I recommend 80-pound American Craft cardstock just because of the way that it manipulates. You're easy to manipulate it, and it cuts really cleanly. So this is not my regular boxes. I'm just going to do that. So I really didn't care. I don't need it to look pretty. I just need it to function well. So normally I wouldn't put a tab there. But I wanted it to be quick to go together. So what we're going to do, we're going to put that small piece in. Make sure it's all glued. I'm going to put this in on the inside. And then on top of that, we'll put the support piece. So just line it up in there. Then we'll put this in here. So just to show you, it'll just be a piece to kind of get you support right there. So it should be enough. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that in on the bottom. So just make sure that you see a hole on top. So just try to center it. I don't want to make it any like really super hard to put this in. It just needs to fit in there in the middle. Okay, so to make it a little bit easier, because I felt like just putting this on and gluing it like that can get unclean if you don't put it on straight. So I have this little, I used this method a couple times on a couple of my other projects, but I'm going to glue this on the inside. So I'm going to anchor this one tab. Actually, let's just fold it backwards so I can see it. So I can show you like that. Just gonna line it up. I'm lining it up with just that one tab right there. So it's glued on the outside. Fold these back so we can fold it on the inside. Also makes it sturdier this way, especially if you're going to put any kind of, if you were to give this as a gift. See if I can speak. So I'm just going to go right straight across. And you put some candy or something or some other gift inside the box. This will help to support it. And what this also does, it's not just a support piece, it really is to help you put this on properly. So as if you freeform that bottom piece and just glued it on, sometimes they just don't go on straight. So this way I can do this, and it's just a method that I feel works well for me. So you do tend to see it on mine. You just make sure you don't pull that out. So I suppose we could have put that on after we did this. Wasn't thinking. So if you do what I did, just gonna hold it and get these last three in place. Then this way, all we have to do is glue that bottom panel on with the texture side down, and it hides all the tabs, and we have a pretty secure bottom piece for sure. And shaped well, so it didn't, the shape hasn't skewed or anything due to not placing the panel on properly. I'm just flipping down really quick. So now all we have to do is add glue to the edge here. Get close to the edge, because when you put panels like this over like this, you don't want huge gaps on the side. So I try to get the glue as close to the edge as possible. So I'm really careful towards the outside edge, obviously, and the inside edge I'm a little bit faster with my application. So lastly, I'll just go over it one more time, make sure I got good coverage on the edge, and then we'll just place that panel on. Getting close to being done. Or we're going to be done with the urn soon. So you could make this by itself with a minor modification if you wanted that top piece to be solid on the inside. But it really is made for the flower. Any file can be changed up if you know what you're doing in your software. So I'm trying to get it lined up it wasn't perfect, but the thing is the shape is perfect. Nobody's going to really. So I'm just kind of putting it upside down, and so I can feel the support in there, which helps tremendously. So I'm just rubbing to get that set. And then I would come in, I'm just going to use a little ink to ink that bottom edge. So this is a little bit more detailed than normal that I do in my tutorials, only because it's really takes a little work to get this a little bit more grungy and scary. So now we're going to put it together. So we're going to put this on there and put that on here. So the trick here, before I start doing it, is to make sure that this is set. So this is 8-sided, this is 8-sided. So you want to make sure that you're lined up like that, and centered. So you need to kind of eyeball that it's centered. So we're going to start with this piece. So we want to add glue on this. If for some reason something's rising a little bit too high like this, before I just added glue, if the panel went a little high and you think it's going to interfere, you could do a little trimming. Not all my panels went that high. So there's a couple of them that went a little higher. But you could trim it if it seems like it's sitting up a little bit too much. But, you know, that's up to you. I actually kind of cut that down a little bit too far, but that's okay. Okay. So let's go ahead and add glue again. We want to get a good application. And they kind of try not to get too much. You kind of have to do it on one spot. If you want a little more wiggle room, go a little bit internal with your glue. Okay, it's because we don't want to have to move it a lot. I'm going to take the non-textured side, which I accidentally did. And we're going to go ahead and I'm going to, from the side, so I can show you from the side, line it up. And there's a little bit of an edge. Kind of can see. I'm making sure that it's in the right place. So I pulled out my glue gun because, in my opinion, it's going to be faster for you. So I actually had to put this bottom piece on. Just because it was taking forever to glue. So this one, we're going to go ahead and do the other way now. So you just try to do your best with getting it centered, like that. So I'm not the best with my glue gun, but we're going to test our skills. So I have just this. This is not a special glue gun. It's just one I got in a set somewhere. So I used to use a portable, which I've had before. But I don't use it that often. So it seems like every time I go to grab it, it's out of battery charge. So I have this small corded one and a larger corded one. So I'm just going to use my embellishment bowl to catch the leak. Then I'm just going to carefully, from the side I can see it, I want to line it up so it's lined up the way I want it. The only thing with the glue gun is that you kind of have to get it set pretty fast. I think I have it centered enough, so I'm just going to do that. I'm not quite sure if I did the best job, but So you want to still hold it for a second, and I can feel the warmth of the glue still. So there it is. So I still want to kind of hold it a little bit longer. But it's coming together to look, as you can see. I like it. I hope you do too. I always get so excited when I get something that I like that. So now we'll go ahead and move on to, we have to attach the stem to the lid. And then add the flower and the leaves and all the fun stuff. So let's see how we do. So now we have the lid and the little stem piece. So we want to make sure we train those backwards. So just go forward, backward, because those are going to glue on the inside. And you'll see that this is almost center, but I want it to be a little further. Let's see. I think I want to make that the front with less space. So it doesn't, so if it's the front, we want the flower facing will be right here. What we're going to do is just push those inward. Slide them in. Glue one side first, one tab, and then we'll do the opposite tab. You have to push it in to make sure that it folds right where the fold is. Then the last two remaining tabs we will fold out. Let's get this flower, make it alive. And then we'll add this tab, this panel, I'm sorry, to the, you see it's pretty clean inside, but this isn't. So we want to hide all this with the inside panel. Can't put it down for pressure. I mean, you can try to, but yeah, it'll work. We just don't want to squish the lid edges too much. That's really purely there to hide all that, the tabs inside. So before I go any further, I did put the flower on before I put the leaves, but the front leaves are kind of hard to manage once you get the front on. So if you can see, if I place that on like that, it's going to, oops, it's upside down. Going to be hard to get greenery underneath, right there. So I'm going to put a couple pieces of greenery underneath, which are these. And the reason why I created these short pieces is because of this. So you can make it as long as you want. So I'm going to put a couple pieces in here, that, and then I can put moss on top of it to cover it. So let me glue these on. And this is all to taste now, to what you want. I'm just going to glue that down. And yes, I am using glue gun for this part. You want to be really careful not to burn yourself with glue guns. I tend to burn myself, so And there may be a couple leaves that I can, like I don't need, if that's underneath there, it's just unnecessary bulk. You could put real greenery too. I mean, like if you go to like a Dollar Tree has greenery, or if you find some Halloween greenery, that would be fun. I try to have enough just so you can make a project. So I'm just trying to figure out how I want it. So I might just go off the sides. I don't want it to be particularly, what do you call it? Symmetrical. So I just want to look at it, and then I may even put a dab of glue to keep it down here, to curl it. So, I mean, there's a couple things just to keep it down. So this is all now what you want to put with it. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to make that a little longer. And actually, I really don't need these bottom leaves again. So we're just going to have a better place. So I have a short version of this and a long version. So the long version, I'm thinking of putting, it worked better on the back. So I'm just going to glue it on the inside here. I'm just going to get some tweezers so I don't burn myself. So if you're going to put something in the front like this, I'd put it in before you put the flower. And then you can put a little bit of moss. So I have, this is moss that I dyed black a while back. So I know you're seeing a lot. I wanted to keep this up on here so it doesn't mess around. So I'm just propping this up to make sure it doesn't bend my little circular areas. So now it's kind of a messy process. But I have this right here. I'll just show you Spanish moss. So I'm just going to take a little bit of it. This stuff's messy to work with, by the way. The stuff that I only have a little bit of the black because I didn't want to dye anymore. I dyed it a while back. But I'm going to pop a little bit of this just around the bottom. Before I put the flower in. And maybe not so much the back, so keep the back a little bit open. So let's see if I can get that towards the front. But at least away from the base of the flower. So all this will just be finishing touches at the end if I want to bend it down. And so you kind of want to get it the way you want. But I'm going to take a little bit of this black. I like literally, we're making a mess now. I dyed this black. Actually, I use this same moss in the Venus flytrap. So I can always add filler later, and finesse it a little bit, because I want it a little messy in the front, just for fun. So we'll deal with the curling of this kind of thing. But now let's go ahead and I'm just going to move that aside for a minute, that mess. We're going to go play with some leaves. So we're going to do that, but let's go ahead and put the flower on first. So my comment to you is that you can use regular glue, but I would say you'd want to use glue gun, just because it's quicker and easier. So I know I may lose a little moss. It's not a big deal. So the way that this is, I'm going to pull this up a little bit. I didn't want the stem to show too much in the front. That wasn't my look. So, and you can see I may have made those a little bit too short. Okay, hopefully I'm not driving anybody completely bonkers yet. So we're going to go ahead and attach this right there. So you can see I have just a little bit of leaf showing out in the front. So I probably went a little bit too short, but that's okay. It's always fixable. So let's go ahead and add, I'm going to do it at an angle because I think it's kind of fun at an angle. So add glue to this. Part of this is just I don't use glue guns that often, so it's a little bit nerve-wracking because you can kind of pull it off after you're done, but it's kind of a one-and-done application. I mean, to me, glue guns don't hold long-term, so I don't like doing long-term things because I usually have to fix them over and over and over again. I had to do that with my mom used to make some stuff and she used glue gun on wood and it just pops right off. So paper's not as bad. So we're going to hold that. Just getting it lined up from the back. I kind of want it to sit, I want to make sure that it's somewhat the way I want it. I'm just kind of letting it sit for a minute. I'm going to angle it. Look at this. Make sure the leaves aren't stuck. So make sure you're not if for some reason you want it to look more like you want to see part of the bottom, you can easily, I'm just kind of adding pressure, snap off some of these right here. And we'll just do that, actually. I'll show you how to do it. Since I recorded this, I did change where the hole is on the lid prior to releasing this file. It is now smack in the middle. It may not still give you enough room, but it's your choice whether you want to snip a couple petals off. Just give it a little bit less bulk so you can. So I'm going to just clip off a couple of these bigger ones so we can see the moss a little bit better. It's easier to cut something off than it is to add it later, so I'm just making sure that blood's out of the way. So you might want to do this, if you want to do this, you might want to do it before you actually obviously install it, or glue it, I should say. So that way, I have a little moss coming through, and you can see, you're starting to see the stem a little bit, so it's not as full down there. And let's see what it looks like with that last one. So I think that looks good like that. I mean, we could take that one away. We'll do that one, and then that's it. Just make sure you don't cut this other part. So let me cut that off and then we'll come back. So let's go ahead and resume putting on the leaves. So now it's just a matter of where you want the leaves. And also, let's put this part on. So I'm not going to use, actually I could use glue gun just to make it faster. We'll put it this way. You just want to glue this part and fold those other pieces over. And yeah, I'm not very good with these little glue strings, but I know that a heat gun or a hair dryer usually helps with that. And then you can go ahead and glue each of those down, so I'll just do that with regular glue. Or you can leave them flapping. That's up to you whether you want to glue them down or not. So I think it looks better just a little bit down so it looks like it's attached to the flower. So I'm going to do a couple. We could have done this with the glue gun too. It gets harder because you don't want to squish the other side. So you don't want to squish the teeth in. So you have to be careful where you hold it. So if you want to do it with the glue gun, we'll do the remaining with the glue gun for time period purposes. I tend to just like regular glue. And other glue doesn't burn me. So I'm going to put the glue on the actual Look how hot it is. So now I'm going to go ahead and start gluing the leaves on. So we can just glue them to part of the base, as you can see right here. Just glue up. And then I'm just going to start putting them in different places. I'm not going to think a whole lot. My glue gun's on my left and I'm right-handed, so that doesn't help me at all. So let me get all my leaves that I'm going to use, or most of them, over there. Okay, so this one's curled already a little bit, so I'm just going to go... I could have put it on the actual project, I probably should have, but I'm just going to go ahead so I can place it. I want it to kind of show on the back a little bit. This is not my forte, so I'm just doing the best I can with So I want it to get closer, so I'm going to add a little bit dot of glue on the back and just attach it there. Just ran out of glue, so let me do this. So I'm just not going to talk through this part. I'm going to just show you so you can watch me add the components. So this is to your taste. So here it is, a little darker than I thought it would come out to. I did cut a little bit of moss to make it smaller to get in here. So now I'm covering up all the places I glued. So I'm going to use this just regular color moss, which I trimmed a little bit, like I said. And then we'll get some of this black, mix it in on top. So and you can always add a dab of glue to get it to stay in. I have a couple long pieces in here. It's just a messy thing to work with. But you want to hang it off and everything. It's just a matter of whether it falls off. If it just hangs off, that's one big thing. But we can make it messy looking. But as it gets lifted, of course, it may come off. So you can always add a dab of glue underneath there. But you're just going to use it for, so you can see like that from the back. So the front. So I may add a little bit more in the front. So just do it to taste, and that's it. I mean, and I'll show you the finished product in a minute here. So again, you might want to keep the petals in the front. I said somewhat regret cutting them off, but I think it looks different, and it's okay to change things up. It's easier to cut it off and then put it back. So that's it. So let's go ahead and put it on top of the finished urn. All this mess we have. So you're not going to be able to see it. You know, kind of put it sideways. And it fits pretty loosely, so here's the finished freaky or frightful flower, I should say, and with an urn. So the color scheme was a little bit different than I thought I was going to end up with. Just thought it was a little darker. But I hope you like it. And if you did, again, please give me a little thumbs up on the video. And I thank you for watching.